just take a ride. Let's go clear your mind. Baby, all I got is time. We can go all night. Baby, we can go all night. Let's just take a all about that mental health now, baby, come on it. I'll be your therapist for the night, so baby, come on it. Now get on this couch and you take a glass of wine, and I tell you about them. I'm just trying to keep respectful, the gentleman.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
It's pretty awesome.
It's too awesome.
You know, I've actually got to hear some of your music myself, so
Yeah.
and been in the place where it happens. So, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Waterboy Molly.
Yes.
Tell me about that first.
Okay, so I started out in kind of a group. So I found the name The Birthday Brothers because when I typed it in, there wasn't much competition in the search bar. And that was a group of me and 3 of my friends. Eventually, I was more into it than they were after time, and so I needed my own personal name. I wasn't a group anymore. At that time, I was working as a prison guard when I lived back in Nebraska. And so it was one day on the shift, and the inmates were coming up to me asking me for the Xbox game sign-up sheet because they get Xbox in prison.
Okay.
And so there's this inmate. His nickname was Molly, but what they wrote down on the game sheet to sign him up for a slot was Waterboy Molly. But when they wrote it down, they kind of did it like in a mocking sense. I thought maybe it was like the Adam Sandler Waterboy Molly, but
right.
But he was like
Waterboy.
He was walking. Yeah, he was walking up across the terrace or whatever in the prison, and they're shouting out to him, "Hey, Waterboy Molly!" And they're saying it like as a joke, like they're making fun of him for calling him Waterboy Molly. But I'm just looking at this name on the paper, and I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, yo, that is crazy. I'm looking for a name right now that has such a ring to it in my ears, and it just reminds me of a really great experience, a really cool job I had.
That's fantastic and exciting. I'm sure, like, being in a situation like that too, like, gives you a lot of inspiration.
Oh yeah, I would write at work and then perform my little raps for the inmates.
That's awesome.
A lot of memories.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, a little bit of a question I kind of have is, I didn't realize until I was actually heard a song of yours when you were with the Birthday
Brothers.
The Birthday Brothers, yeah. Where, like, you're a Tampa native.
Yeah, I was born in Florida, and then when I was about 3 or 4 years old, my parents separated, and we moved to Nebraska to live with my mom's side of the family.
Right.
My dad's side of the family is all still here in Florida, so now that I'm here, my mom is also here, I have pretty much my whole family. But yeah, since the age I was about 4 years old, I was raised in Nebraska, all the cornfields and all that.
Yeah.
And then
children of the corn, right?
Yeah. I literally worked in the cornfields, walking through each row of corn. I did that for 3 summers. We were basically the children of the corn. I was like 15, 16, 17.
All right. Some corn mazes. We have a few of those here, I guess.
It's
sometimes.
Not the same.
Not the same. They can get lost up there, I'm sure. So I guess, like, from your, like, perspective is kind of what the vibe that I get off of you is, like, Tampa's like a family. Like, it's family. It's about you being connected to your family and, like,
yes, everyone's here.
Building your family, like creating Tampa.
Growing up in Nebraska, I always would tell people I'm from Florida because it's just like that's me. That's where I'm from. Now that I'm here in Florida, I feel like I need to give homage to Nebraska and tell people, oh, I'm from Nebraska. That's where I was really raised. But while I was there, I would tell everyone I'm from Florida.
Right. And yeah, and it's like, I mean, Tampa, in an odd sense, when you think about the South, it's a melting pot, right?
Yeah,
compared to, like, the deep South, Georgia, like, Tampa's just got a mix of everything.
Land of opportunity.
First musical experience, and how did it impact you?
Yes. Okay, so since parents were separated, I would have to come visit Florida in the summer times. And so there was one summer I came to visit all the family, and I had a family member with a grand piano in their house.
Sweet.
And so I went messing around on it, and then when I got back to Nebraska after that trip, my aunt, who was basically the lady who raised me, took us in after the divorce. She had replaced her old retro stereo record player.
Yes,
she had
my parents had those.
the biggest collection. I remember sitting in front of it and listening to it, flipping it and all that.
Yeah.
But I came back from Florida one summer and it was all gone, and instead there was a piano sitting there. And she says, when school starts up, you got piano lessons coming. I was 8 years old, and so I remember being 8 years old, anticipating I'm going to learn piano and sitting in front of it, like, and being excited to understand it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, once you get into music, there's so much complex. I can't think of the word right now, but it's so complex. There's so many different theories and like.
And I'm so happy that it got embedded into me so young. It just feels like it's a part of me. It's always been there.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, so like piggybacking on that question, right? Like, how has music changed your life?
Yeah, everybody's always known that Lucas, he's going into music. My dad, he's tried to be like, you need to pick up a trade, you need something secure. And my mom, I remember sitting outside of a Goodwill, and I said, hey, Mom, could you ask God what I'm going to be when I grow up? And she said, God says that you're going to be successful at whatever you decide to be. And from that moment on, I just kind of started thinking bigger, and I really believed it internally, like I will be successful. And I would like find success throughout life, and I would tell myself, oh, that's because I'm successful at everything I do. It's just like a little programming in that moment that's really taken me far. And so I remember my senior year of high school, learning how to make beats on the computer, completely sold. I figured out how to do it finally. Before it was all just live music, and I figured out how to create music with a computer, final songs. From that moment on, it's always been, I'm going to do music. And now it's been 6 years of everybody in my life knowing of the consistency. I haven't changed my mind once.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah, this is a great one, because I'm actually curious about this question myself. Because we're kind of first meeting you and getting a taste of you, like, how would you describe your music? Like, what's the color? What's the feeling? What's the vibe, the aura? Like, who are you as a musician, and what inspires you, and why do you make the style of music that you make?
So I've always had this catchphrase that I've lived by when it comes to music. Rule number 1, it has to be catchy. Rule number 2, it has to be clever. That's my rubric. Every time I make a song, I ask myself those questions, and if it's not catchy or clever, it's not worth making. And so the question was...
Yeah, like your sound.
Like, my sound. Okay.
I always kind of think of, I mean, it's art, right?
Right.
So like, what's that color or that taste or that feeling that you feel that your music is? And like, if you could describe yourself as fitting into a genre or fitting into like what's your vibe?
So the moments growing up that really impacted me musically would be listening to pop radio in like the mid 2000s, like 2007 or so. Being a young kid, listening to just whatever's on the radio. So you could think of like Kesha with that TikTok song, and just like, and Jason Derulo, all those just that era of pop music. That's what my mom was always playing. So that kind of stuff, that catchy, that just really explosive kind of instrumentals with a lot of electronic sounds. And then also I was big into Guitar Hero. So I loved all the rock songs and playing it with the controller. And so all those big booming drums and guitars are very important to me. So I felt like there was a time when I had to figure out how I was going to actually make this happen, because I didn't believe I could sing. And so I kind of reluctantly fell onto rap because I didn't feel like I had the tone in my head to hit the notes. Now I've developed and I'm expanding, but I really honed down on the rapping because I could just use my normal voice and just go fast and be articulate and use a lot of diction and stuff like that.
Do your vocal warm-up.
Yeah, and so I focused a lot on rap while trying to incorporate that style of music that I love, was like the pop, big instrumentals, and the rock. And so that's what's really important.
Right. And it sounds to me, just because you have such a passion for music, it always seems like you're absorbing or
Yes.
growing or looking for.
Yeah, I hate to try to define a very specific box because, you know, every song just depends on the moment that it's being made. I ask this moment in time what it wants from me, and I'm more the vessel.